Hello, this is PG of the Play Games channel, and this is the Virtual Photographer's Guide. And in this episode, where are we? Well, I think you can probably guess. It's Assassin's Creed. It's the latest one, Mirage, and we're going to run through the photo mode today. I'm going to show you what all the settings do. Now, if you've played any of these Assassin's Creed games in recent times, the last 3 or 4, they've all had photo modes and they've all been pretty much the same, haven't they? Like, they haven't really deviated too much. So anyway, how do we enter the photo mode? Well, we click in the left and the right joysticks simultaneously, like so. Now, what do the joysticks do? The right one is used for changing the angle of the camera, so that doesn't actually move the camera, it just moves what you're looking at. The left joystick moves the camera left and right and forward and backwards, so you can use them in conjunction to kind of nicely rotate around your photo, around your image, and find the composition that you want. Right, okay, so what else can we do? So we've got offset camera. What does that do? It's the D-pad. Okay, so left goes left, right goes right, up goes up, down, down, down. So it's like up and down is like craning essentially. So you can find the right angle. It's good for little adjustments and stuff if you want to get the eye line in the right place. So obviously balancing and spacing is important in these photo modes, and you've got grids. Okay, so if you press square, it cycles through all of these grids. Now, I usually would go for that grid. You can see it there. It's like in 3 by 3. So that's traditional kind of like balancing. So what I would normally do is try and get the character eye line wise 2/3 up, maybe in one corner perhaps, like that sort of thing. It just helps me balance the sort of distancing. So we've moved the camera, we've offset the camera. If you press the triangle, you can just see the screen without any of that stuff on it, if you just want to have a clean look at the palette. What else have we got there? If you click in L3 and then press the right joystick, it will just orbit around your camera, so it will lock to the main character and orbit. So that means it just stays in the same distance and stuff like that, but I don't particularly use that. If you hold in the R3 joystick, resets your camera. And what else have we got? We've got zooming, so L2 and R2, we can zoom in or zoom out. I wouldn't do that straight away. I'd wait until you've got the right sort of framing per se. So it's a combination of joysticks, D-pad, triggers for zooming. L1 and R1 do tilting. Tilting is good if you are doing an action shot, which is very much relevant for Assassin's Creed. And if you press circle, it comes out of the photo mode. Just checking if there was another way of getting in the photo mode. I don't think there is. Okay, so that's the basic stuff in the photo mode. So let's get into the town, because we're going to have more stuff that we can do with the photo mode, but we're going to change the scenery. So one good thing about these Assassin's Creed games is that the photo modes are... The photo mode's only as good really as the game world. If the game world looks horrendous, it's not very practical or useful, is it? What's that? Sorry, I only just started this the other day. Okay, we're going to sort of go over here and just stand in that archway just for reference. So stand here. What way should we look? We'll look this way. So we're going to stand about here. Okay, we'll enter the photo mode. So we did the grids, we did reset, we did orbit, we did all the movement. Now if we click in the L3 button once, it changes from composition mode, which is what we were in, to edit mode, which is what we're in now. So it changes the whole premise of what we actually are doing. So if we press L1 and R1 now, this goes through these filters at the top of the image. See them? Now, what is a filter? Well, filters are a preset sort of editing process that's implied over the top of the image. Now, they're calling them filters, but they're not really filters, they're presets. Because if you look, oh, they are presets, okay. No, they're not. So you see how the saturation changes on every one that I'm flicking through? Because they're called filters, but what they really mean is they're a preset combination of settings. Now, you might like them, you might not. If you don't have to have one. Okay. Now, the right joystick in this moves the setting. For this purpose, we're using saturation, and the left joystick uses this little circular thing. What is that for? That's your focus ring. So if I move it over main guy, let's just change the composition of this, and we're going to zoom in. So like if I change the composition, look, see how it's changing the focus, because the ring applies on this other screen. Okay. Right, we'll go back to the edit one. Left joystick moves the focus ring, as you can see the difference. And the right joystick changes the setting. Okay. Up and down on the D-pad goes through all of these. So we're going to go through them individually. X will take a photo. So if you press it, it will save it in your PlayStation image gallery. Or you could press the triangle button there to preview it and press the screenshot button to take the picture, and it will save it in the same gallery. Depends what you want to do. I think if you press X, it saves it within the game menu. I believe so, anyway. Okay, so let's say we changed the depth of field and then we changed our mind. Click R3, bang, changes it back. Change the depth of field, click R3, reset. Now, if we hold R3, it resets all of the settings. And the circle button would come back again. So, all right, we've got all of these different things. So what do they actually do? Right, I need a drink for this one. Depth of field. Okay. So I'm moving it. What do you think it does? Well, depth of field, the field is the focus, the field of focus. What is the depth of that field? If it's low, what does that mean? It means everything you can see will be focused. If you move it to the other end of the spectrum, it means very little. Like if you look at his clothing at the bottom, that's slightly out of focus. That's incredibly shallow. So it's like almost 2 centimeters of real-time like width of focus. So you've got to be very precise. But that's how you change the focus. And then obviously you move the focus ring where the actual thing you're focusing on. If you're focusing on a person, that obviously you want a bit of blur just to sort of help clarify your subject. Exposure, well, exposure, it kind of boosts the brightness of the image generally. I wouldn't overdo it because it can get a bit ugly. It's good if it's daytime and you want to make it look a bit nighttimey vibes, but then you've got to adjust contrast and saturation to compensate. But that's what exposure is. Contrast, it defines light and dark in a more different way. So it makes light and dark things stand out against each other. If it's low, it makes it washed out. If it's high, more definition. It's not very strong, the contrast here, I would say. It's quite weak, so it's not noticeable really. Temperature, go up, warm, blue. So if you've watched Breaking Bad, we're not in Mexico. Now we're in Mexico. Not in Mexico. Now we're in Mexico. And now we're in a cupboard or something. That's how they do film coloring, because blue is night and warm is Mexico. But anyway, that's temperature. I'd use it a little bit if you just want to warm up a sunset or make a night scene bluer, depending on what you want. The tint works the same, except go to the top, green, go to the bottom, purple. Like you could do the purple with the blue. again, it's just something you have to try out. I usually don't mess with tinting because it looks weird. Saturation, top, that looks weird. It's like pop art, over the top colors. Then you go bottom, it should be black and white, although it doesn't actually look black and white, does it? There's still color in that image, and I don't know why Assassin's Creed games always have color, even if there's no color in it. What's that about? Anyway, we'll leave saturation in the middle. Noise. A lot of people don't want to use noise because they think, oh, I don't want grainy. I want it super smooth, 4K, whatever. Noise has a purpose. Obviously, too much isn't great, but if it's nighttime, noise is good because it adds texture to a shot that you maybe don't have a lot of texture in. I would always just add a little bit because it gives it something, you know, especially because it's an old world type game. You know, it's not sci-fi, is it? What else have we got? Vignetting. Okay, maximum vignette, what does it do? Well, it creates a shadowy border around the image, and if you look at it from a distance, it's like an eye, isn't it? It's like the shape of an eye, an eyeball. So what do you think the purpose of that is? Well, obviously, it's trying to draw you in to the center of the photograph, isn't it? So if you're centrally focusing your subject, vignettes are useful. Or if you just want to darken the borders to make more of an emphasis on the central zone of the image. It doesn't have to be right in the middle, but it can be middle-ish. You don't have to have it on. Like, I wouldn't use vignette on everything because sometimes it's nicer just like that to have all bright, isn't it? Bloom. What does that do? Well, bloom, we're going to have to change position because bloom doesn't really work in some instances. So let's change the position. And go into the edit mode and bloom. Now, what it should do really is make all the bright bits brighter, but it doesn't really seem to be doing it much. I think it really relates to metallic objects in the sun, but yeah, it doesn't seem to do anything on just general imagery, which is weird. But anyway, bloom with metal, and then fog. It's kind of interesting. It creates mist, so it's almost like Dune or Blade Runner 2, like the Blade Runner sequel film, where you have all these kind of, like, you could do fog like that, and then you could go temperature like that, and then exposure like that, and then contrast like that, and then vignetting, and it's like a big sandstorm, isn't it? It's like you do see slight issues at the top with this flickering because there's too much effects on the image. It's starting to make it look weird. Obviously, if you take the fog away, it looks very different. Put the fog back in. You know, you might want to take the contrast down a bit, put the exposure up. See what I mean? But that's kind of what that does. It's quite a nice effect though, isn't it? So, you know, you can take that picture. And that's kind of what the photo mode does. So it's saving. Where is it saving it? Taking about 5 years to save. This is why I normally screenshot them into the library, because it takes too long. The problem occurred. Oh, really? How delightful. Okay. How do we actually see the photos? I don't know. Would it be on the Ubisoft Connect? Yeah, if you're taking a picture, don't bother pressing X. I would just, I would simply go into the photo mode and use your screenshot button. Okay, so that's how the photo mode works. Let's take a picture and just do an example. What should we do? Let's go high. Let's get a nice perch somewhere. And where can we go? We could go. Okay, so we'll just sit here and we'll enter the photo mode. And we'll just frame him in between those two objects, and then we'll use the zoom to come into it like that, just as an example. And let's say we want to, what do we want to do? We want to blur out the background, so depth of field, let's have some fog, a bit of contrast, temperature up a bit, exposure up a bit, saturation a bit warmer to make it colourful, bit of noise. That's vignette if we want to do a border, but we won't. Bloom, again, doesn't really do much, and a bit more fog. So that's just a quick example, but I don't particularly like it. But anyway, there's so much in this game to photograph. I have only really just touched the surface, but the game worlds are massive and there's loads of textures. I'll do another photo mode guide on actually taking pictures, like specifically on portraits, on action and stuff. But that's how the photo mode works. It's pretty much the same as any of the other photo modes that I've seen from Assassin's Creed games. But it's a beautiful looking game, and you know, one thing you definitely get with these games is a varied photo mode. So there you go, that's the photo mode. I should really score it, shouldn't I? I'd probably say like an 8. Functional, does the job, not amazing, but you know, it's got some good features and the game world looks fantastic. So right, I'm gonna pick this pocket. No, I can't steal from kids in this game, outrageous. Let me do this one. Come on. Right. Oh, I've got a medallion. Right, I'm going to sell that and buy my character some lunch. Until the next time, this is PG for the Play Games channel and the photo mode guide episode 70 odd, I don't know. Any questions, comment. Any tips you need for photo modes, comment. Ask me and I will do my best. If you don't ask, I can't help you. So, thank you for watching, and I'll be back with another episode at some point in the future. I'm off to explore the beauty of Baghdad and the surrounding areas. Cheers.